Thank you. So my talk will have some overlapping slides or thing with Dr. Siddhartha's because light adjusting lens is also a future in India. It's maybe working in USA, but still in India is future. So we have seen from couching without glasses to cataract operation with glasses, then presbyopic lenses without glasses, and as always, our dil mange more, and we are looking for lenses which will correct everything without halos, and all the future research works are going in that direction. And to help with that, accurate biometry is required, and biometry has also progressed a lot. So, as Siddhartha has talked about light adjustable lenses, I'll skip that. But main aim of this was to correct the residual astigmatism or residual spherical power due to biometry inaccuracy. And as Siddhartha has pointed out, basically they have this silicon macromer which with lies become polymer, they attach and migrate to the treated area, and the perfusion continues. And then when you feel that the refraction of the patient is perfect, you irradiate the rest of the portion of the lens to lock in and get the perfect power. Now, this was approved by FDA in 2017, but in India is still a future. And as Dr. Ghosh has mentioned, that we cannot use this lens in macular disease or in patients who have increased sensitivity to the ultraviolet light, or patient on medication like tamoxifen, which is retinotoxic, and obviously patient with nystagmus because treatment will be difficult, the irradiation will be difficult. Now, these are the drugs which makes us sensitive to UV light. So, and probably few more will be added by the time this lens reaches India. Now, for hyperopic correction, we treat the central portion, and when the perfect power is found, there is a bulge, and we then lock in when the perfect power is achieved. Similarly, in myopia, we irradiate the peripheral portion to help the macromer formation, polymer formation in the periphery, so the lens in the middle thinned out, and then we lock in to get the perfect myopic correction. Now, as I have said, the future lenses are aiming for correction of both near, distance, intermediate without halos, and all the research works are targeted in that way. But unfortunately, as we know, the significant problem of the light splitting presbyopic IOL is the dysphotopsia. And all dysphotopsia has lessened, as our previous speakers are saying, by the changing of the lens designs or technology. But true accommodative lenses, if we get, will have no dysphotopsia and helps us to manage the presbyopia. Now, one lens came in about 25 years back, and it was the first presbyopic accommodative IOL crystal lens. But unfortunately, it depends more on sorry, not here. I'm talking about USA. It was approved 25 years back in USA in the research work. And then the problem was it mainly depending on the vertex movement of the eye, not on the lens movement. But now there are several accommodative IOL which mimics the natural accommodative process, and they provide both distance, near, and intermediate vision without dysphotopsia. And I'll talk about few of those lenses. Now, the first one is the Juvin, which is from LensGen. This is a modular lens. Modular, we know about our modular kitchen where all the parts come in different packs and they are just fitted in. Same is this lens. It has two portions. One portion is the side portion along with the base lens, which is basically made of fit in the capsular bag, and on the top of that base lens, this power lens is fitted. It is a fluid lens which is placed on the top of the base lens. Now, when the ciliary body contracts, this portion also contracts, and that changes the shape of this fluid lens to give us the accommodation. And that's how we get both the distance and the near vision. And when this relaxes, the ciliary body relaxes, these side things move away and the lens flattens to give our only the distance vision. Now, so in this patient, in this lens, the fluid lens or the accommodative lens is in the top, and the fixed silicon supporting lens is in the bottom. Now, the next lens, this lens has the advantage that because the bag is full, chances of PCR is very, very less. And it has been studied for 5 years. The chances of PCR is very minimal. Now, the study have shown presented in 2023 ASCRS monocally they have attained good vision both for distance, intermediate and near, and the defocus curve 6 months time point showed about 2.5 diopter of accommodation, and binocularly it gives 3 diopter of accommodative power. The next lens is the fluid vision lens from Alcon. It's again slightly different design. It's not a modular lens but is a single lens where the acrylic shell is filled with silicon oil. It's filled with silicon oil and gives an accommodative amplitude of about 2 diopter. What it does, as the ciliary muscle contract for near focus, the fluid in the haptics is pushed into the optic portion of the IOL. The fluid is pushed into the optic portion and that gives a bulge to the IOL to give the necessary power. And once the ciliary muscles relaxes, the fluid goes out, the lens flattens, and we get the distance vision. And again, the Orion study, which was a prospective study with fluid vision comparing to Alcon IQ, has shown excellent distance corrected intermediate and near visual acuity, and contrast sensitivity was similar to the monofocal lens, and amplitude of accommodation was 2.20. The lens in its current form requires 3.2 millimeter of incision, and that hopefully will come down with advancement of the lens design. The next lens is the OmniView. It is again similar to the other lens, but here the fixed lens is on the top, whereas the fluid lens in the bottom. Whereas in the Juvin, the fixed lens was at the bottom, and here is just the opposite. So what it does, again it is 5.6 millimeter optic, and again it's a modular lens which fits in. Now the front optic is made of hydrophobic acrylic material with 3 locking tabs. So they locks in 3 places with the bottom portion. And the shape changing fluid basically changes the power with the ciliary muscle contraction in the inner channel. So basically with same like the Alcon lens, here the fluid is pushed in, is bulged, and that basically with the fixed power lens, this gives the accommodative power of the lens. Now, again, for the OmniView, it has shown that the results are quite good. Corrected distance visual acuity is 20/20 and managed to get 20/32 across 4 diopter of defocus binocularly, and the refractive predictability was quite stable. Again, this lens require 3.5 millimeter of incision for the correction. The next lens is the Lumina lens. It is again slightly different. What it has is a hydrophilic acrylic lens. It is positioned in the ciliary sulcus, not in the bag. It is positioned in the ciliary sulcus, and it consists of 2 optical elements that each have an elastic omega shaped. You can see the omega shaped haptic, and the omega shaped haptic has a spring like function, and it has one optic has a fixed optical power of anterior element, and the anterior element provides 5 diopter, whereas the posterior element, depending upon the patient's biometry, give 10 to 25 diopter of the power. What it does, in normal position, they are slided out. When accommodation is required, they slide in by the ciliary muscle contraction. A pointer, ciliary muscle contraction, they slide in to give this position to add the accommodative power, and when the accommodation is not required, they again slide out to go into this position. So the optical power here is increased with linear shift, and helps in focusing both for distance and near. The last lens I'll be talking about again is slightly different design, is Opera accommodative IOL. Here it again a modular lens consists of two elements and is implanted separately. Now this lens is implanted again in the ciliary sulcus. So the role of the capsular bag is negated and is implanted in the ciliary sulcus. And then other thing is that the optic has rims which fits into the capsulorhexis. So the capsulorhexis has to be perfect. So here comes the role of femtosecond or zepto, because we need a perfectly sized rhexis, because the rim will fill in the rhexis margin, and this haptic will sit on the ciliary sulcus and will act again with the contraction of the ciliary muscle. It works, and again it requires 3.9 millimeter of corneal incision. So thank you. I wish we have a lens like light adjustable lens with the modular design where we can correct this 3.9 millimeter incision SIA and also get the accommodation accordingly. Thank you so much for your hearing.
Thank you, Dr. Shogoto. It's a excellent elaborative talk regarding the future of accommodative IOL. We have a few questions we can discuss. If you have any question from the audience, you can answer this. So I have want to share two slides.
One question to Dr. Sugato. I mean, you all said these lenses, the future lenses are going to sit in the bag, in the capsular bag. So what about the bag contracture and fibrosis and pliability of the bag so that the lens changes its shape?
Yeah, not all of them. The one, the first lens, basically it fills in with the all of the bag and prevents contraction of the bag. And also it has shown in 5 years there is not much requirement of the stability, requirement of the YAG capsulotomy. And the last lens, the Opera I talked about, it doesn't sit in the bag, or the previous penultimate one, they are on the sulcus. So the necessity of the bag in those lenses are not there. In fact, the Opera lens, because it's fitted on the capsule, there were high incidence of posterior capsulotomy and back contraction, and all of them had YAG laser done, which didn't affect the outcome of the
See,
vision.
Sugato, I think these dual haptics and fluid optics is lens working in the R&D almost more than 2 decades.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
And the dual optics, and you know that we have very positive about the Synchrony lens, which is a failed in the phase 3 trial. So, so we are really doubtful whether lens is
Yes.
coming. And regarding the light adjustable level, these lenses are indicated in the post-refractive surgery. It was. But now the post-refractive, the biometry is so good in any kind of refractive surgery. So it's a light adjustable, role of light adjustable going down. So the most cumbersome point of the light, negative point of the light adjustable lens, patient has to wear the UV protected lens almost 1.5 months.
Yes.
So even he cannot go out.
Yes.
So it is giving the positive trial in the Mexico and different and the 3-4 places very cumbersome. I think there is a very limited future of the LAL so far is a concern.
Yeah.
And so far anything we have Anurag has discussed.
I have a point to make. Definitely at this point, yes. Same was the situation when Harold Ridley implanted the IOL in 1949, and then it got FDA approval. The IOL FDA approval came in 1981. So 32 long years after, the FDA approval came.
Actually, Harold Lind
It's
never
1950.
applied for the FDA approved because
Just- okay.
you see, you know,
But what I'm trying
Harold
to say,
Ridley was in mental trauma. He's almost in the asylum, and until unless David Apple is actually reinvented, who actually invented the IOL, and then it is came to the surface that yes, this man Harold Ridley actually invented IOL.
yeah, but
so
what
this
I'm
is
trying to say
actually
is the progress.
yes,
What
yes.
looks impossible now, maybe in 2 years' time, treatment will come where you don't have to wear UV glasses for 4 hours, probably. not
Actually,
4
all
weeks.
American oil company make that credit that time that we are actually making the oil. They all forgot over the last 30 years. They forgot that the actual who invented the oil. So I think we have covered all the topic from history of oil. Excellent talk by Dr. Mohanto, and we have discussed how the EMV and EDOF works future and its future, and this diffractive technology which will be coming future, and what we stand by Anurag and Siddhartha and you, Dr. Sugato, will discuss about the future lens and advanced technique. Thank you so much.